Basil.
Stephen.
Jason.
Hello.
Last time we had Jason on the podcast, you were in South America on a recliner with lots of sun.
Yeah, I was actually.
I bet you wish you were back there now. Hey.
Yeah, I do actually. Where was I? I was in Medellin.
Yes,
Medellin,
you were.
the home of
Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, Pablo Escobar. Yeah.
That was before COVID, that.
Did you
Just
go?
before COVID.
Yeah.
Did you go on the tour where you go and see his house and all that? Because apparently there's a tour though, isn't there, for all that? Go and see all his house and all that.
No, we went for an exhibition, and then I was away for a month actually, South America and then America.
Yeah.
And finished off at the MJ Biz.
You didn't go this year, obviously, did you?
No, I went to England versus New Zealand instead at the weekend.
Oh, nice.
That was brilliant.
Did you win?
We drew. We were, what were we? We were 6-25 down with 10 minutes to go. It was a shocking game. We played rubbish. The referee was shit. And then they put on the afterburners and it was 25-all.
Yeah.
It was unbelievable, the last 10 minutes.
What a finish. Yeah. Very nice.
Yeah.
Well, for our listeners, this is a prequel to the next season of podcasts where Jason and Autopot are a partner again. But we wanted to do something a little bit different because Jason's been with us since day one, a friend of the podcast and the shop and the media company since day one. So and with 20 plus years experience in the industry, we thought we'd, rather than me and Barry just waffling on, we'd bring someone in with actual knowledge and actual experience and just talk about what's been going on over the last couple of years. And we're going to talk about the products, these amazingly gorgeous products that Jason's released or releasing, the sauce, which we'll get into, the new fertilizer, and then we're going to talk about some juicy shit. So you're going to want to stay tuned because we've got some opinions, and as some people know, we're not afraid to share them. Isn't that right, Barry?
It is.
So we'll get into it. Coates, you put the intro here, and we'll go and get yourself a cup of tea or a coffee or a beer, and we'll be back after the intro.
All good? Ready to go? Turn my voice up a little bit. Oh, God, for everyone watching, the whole family.
Are you ready to go? Are you built to be in the house that I built, in the booth that I built?
I know people tune in every Sunday to listen, but even when business is good, we still manage to do the podcast.
Right, Jason, I know nothing about I probably know a little bit about some of these products, but these all look brand new. First of all, from a design point of view, top 10 out of 10 to the designer. Who we giving credit to?
To Luke, to a guy called Mike, who we employed as an illustrative artist, and Josh, my son. So they've all worked, and me a little bit as well, and Ray in the background signing it all off and being the boss. But the whole idea was we got 6 products in total. One's brand new, which is the Tray to Grow, which the tool has just arrived in port on Sunday. So we should have that coming out, I'll probably say in the next 10 days, and then boxed and ready to go for the garden centre market in the new year. We'll probably do some offers on it as well. But 6 products in total, 5 existing products. And what we really were looking at is, because cardboard prices are going up, environmental sustainability of cardboard being able to be recomposted. If most people in the hydro industry globally will remember the 4-pot system in a full colour photography box. Well, that box was costing us an absolute fortune because of the way it's processed, and it wasn't compostable. So we looked at options of reducing our packaging, and lo and behold, by doing what we've done, 3 colours, all these boxes are just 3 colours, and illustrative artwork. The ink's organic that's supplied to the box, and the box is now fully compostable. And I think on most of the boxes, it's got FSC, certified, so that it is fully compostable. And it just, when we went to Glee in June, the big garden centre show there, it really stood out because there's nothing like it in the garden centres with regards to artwork and obviously the way Autopot works. So what we're looking at is positioning ourselves over the next couple of years between Hoselock and Gardenia, because mostly they're drip irrigation off a hose pipe or off a tap. So we've obviously got Medwin's blessing on all the boxes, and pretty much got Medwin's stamp on there to say that, you know, Medwin uses it, and he's won all the gold medals at Chelsea Flower Show. So we've created a gondola end. We've got the 4-pot system in a new fancy box, the easy to grow system in a new fancy box. Same with the Aquabox Spider, the Aquabox Straight, the easy to go, and the new tray to grow, which comes out. And that is, originally it was designed, the tray to grow, to do a grow bag, to water an irrigated grow bag. As it's turned out, and it's not by design, it's by luck, it'll fit 4 standard seed trays. These are standard seed trays for the garden centre market. It'll fit pots of all sizes. It'll do, which we're just making now at the moment, 2 microherb flats and 107 litre fabric grow bag or planter. So it's probably been the most complicated tool that I've designed. It's the biggest tool I've ever designed. The tool in weight for that tray to grow is 5 tons. So
the press?
The press. Well, no, the press is the machine.
What is it, like
the
2 pieces? The
2 big pieces of steel. That's obviously, you know, if you imagine...
is it like injected, is it?
Yeah, so if you imagine 2 big lumps of steel carved on the inside, and
like
then
a male and a female.
Together, yeah, and they close together, and then the molten plastic comes in from the top, fills the cavities, it cools it, opens up, pushes out the product. So those 2 lumps of steel, like each one's 2.5 tons each.
Wow.
So it's been, I mean, I started that design 2 years ago. So by the time we get it out, it'll be 2 years to get that finished and ready, as well as all the box designs and everything. So,
and you say that tool's being shipped in?
Yeah, so we quite often, 99 times out of 100, we manufacture our injection mold tools in China because it's cheaper. Yeah. And then we ship the tools from China to here to manufacture here in the UK, because our manufacturing prices are pretty much the same as China.
Yeah.
If you think about it logically, if I had all my tools in China when the pandemic hit, Autopot would have probably gone under because of the cost of the container prices. I mean, container prices have now come down quite dramatically. And it's a couple of reasons, really. The Chinese are obviously struggling. The global economy is struggling, and they need to get prices down to encourage people to shift stuff out of China again. If it'll work, I don't know. I mean, the global economy, as far as I can see it, I think you've got another 2 or 3 years of this yet before you see any upturn on industry, whatever industry you're in. But we're unique. So, you know, people will want to try and grow their own. Vegetables are going up, and people will still want to grow their own. So I think we've got a good chance. And also because the garden centres, they're sitting on a lot of product they bought in 2020 and 2021 still. So they are actively looking for British unique products.
Yeah.
So we fall into that category.
Yeah.
And obviously our irrigation technology is unique. And obviously what we've done with the packaging, the point of sale material is quite unusual as well. So hopefully, fingers crossed, over the next couple of years, you'll start seeing Autopot becoming mainstream into garden centres and gondola ends there and everything. I
like the packaging though. It is.
Thank you.
And even saying, I would not have noticed, but there is only 3 colours between all the boxes.
Yeah, it's weird that I don't notice.
It's weird that you don't notice it, but now you've said that, I can see it. But I like it as well. I think the packaging's lovely.
Yeah, we were limited because of the way that we've designed it. If you imagine it's a big long press that the box goes through, the flat cardboard goes through. So it starts at one end in a big pile, picks up one sheet, picks up the blue, picks up the orange or the red, and then picks up the green, and then you're at the other end. The reason we're limited in the amount of colours, you can get a 2 millimetre movement as that piece of cardboard slides from one end to the other.
Yeah.
So you have to make sure you leave certain amount of gaps here, there, and everywhere
to
make sure you don't get a crossover on the colours. So it's been difficult, but we're just literally just about to go to press with the boxes. We're happy with them. It's taken bloody ages, but yeah.
I like it.
Do you know what I think is going to do really well in the garden centres? Just my opinion. It's the grow bags one.
Yeah.
I think, like, obviously grow bags for people who don't know, haven't used them. You can buy tomato bags, can't you? And you just plant your seeds, or you get the potato bags, you plant the seeds, and they literally just grow out the bag. Well, we'll put pictures up on our Instagram as well. But the tray, the watering valve, and then you've got the bamboos up the side, the tomatoes growing up the top. So it's all the fertilisers in the bag, and it's being watered through the aqua valve. I really like the box,
the way it shows you, though, what you can do with it.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Well, it's 5 in total.
Options.
Yeah.
There's probably more, isn't it?
It's simple,
well,
isn't
yeah,
it?
I mean, you could
put individual
cocoa
pots
slabs on there. You know, you could there's probably other ways. You know, I'm sure the industries will have a play, and you know, they might even just drop a bag of cocoa on there and see if that works, which I know it will anyway.
For the pots of all sizes, because you've been remember when we very first started doing the YouTube show, which is over 5 years ago now, 6 years ago, you've always been trying to find the perfect matting, haven't you?
Yeah.
For whether it's for micro herbs and sustainability, cleanliness. Where have you come? Because the reason I'm saying that is the pots of all sizes looks as though that might have like a bit of a sheet or something to spread it out.
You use it in 2 methods. So the grow bag method, you put 10 spikes in the tray and thread a capillary mat through and drop the grow bag onto it, and that pierces the base of the grow bag. For all the other methods, the other 4 methods, you've got channels in the tray, and you put capillary matting down 2 of the channels. That draws the moisture up to the top level, similar to the easy to propagate, really.
Yeah.
But it's just matting, so we don't have to import cocoa matting from Sri Lanka anymore or anything like that. So we're losing that carbon footprint again.
Yeah.
So it's just matting and channels. So you just put the matting in 2 channels and root control on the top, and the moisture comes up to the surface. And as long as you've got the substrate in the pot touching the surface of the matting, you're fine. If you're growing bonsai, for example, you just put a little capillary wick into the hole and let that drape onto the matting below, and that'll work as well. Nice. So pretty much everything that'll grow. Yeah. We've run it through its paces, had it through its trials, and I'm happy as Larry with it.
It looks amazing. We always make an assumption as well that everyone listening knows there's the one unique, well, there's more than one, but the one standout unique feature that separates Autopot from every system. I'd like you to explain it, because you'll do it much more succinctly than me. The unique factor of how it's plant-led irrigation. Is that what you call it? Plant-driven irrigation.
Or plant control, PCI.
Yeah.
I mean, the difference between this and any other system is that valve. It controls the flow of the water to the plant. So if you connect the valve to a reservoir, it allows the tray, or the valve allows water to enter into the tray to a preset level of 20 mil, then stops. The valve's designed in such a way that it creates vacuums and surface tensions within it, so that when the water starts getting used by the plants, the level starts to go down and gets to the underside of the valve where it's empty, and then within half an hour to an hour, then it'll replenish the tray again. So it's the only system in the world where the plants are controlling that mechanical part, and that mechanical part is then opening and closing in accordance to the plants. So, I mean, there's other systems on the market that use a standard ball cock that you get in toilets, and unless you use a timer, you've always got a level of water in there, so plants are always sitting in water. The valve is completely different. It floods and completely drains, and floods and completely drains. But it's not just working, it's, by itself, it's working in conjunction with the plants. So that's why we always get fantastic growth with all Autopot products, because it's the plants that are dictating what they take when they want it.
Yeah, and in even the not mechanical, even the systems that run off electricity and the flood and drain systems, they work fantastically, but they are driven by the grower. And unless you're a phenomenal grower, most people are going to go in and go, right, I'm going to feed at 12, 4, 8, and feed when I want. And it takes a long time for you to tune that to feed when the plant wants to feed, and then it depends on your environment. This is like what I've always loved about this valve is the plant's leading the feeding.
Yeah.
And whether if the environment's low humidity, it allows it to drink more. If it's high humidity, it'll drink less. And it's sort of, in these controlled rooms where you're controlling everything, the humidity, the temperature, the airflow, the CO2. The one thing that most people aren't controlling is the irrigation. And then, they are controlling it, but they're controlling it through their opinions of what a plant wants. This is actually giving the plant
I've never
what
been
it wants.
a lover of, I'll say electrical systems, if it's the right word. Because you aren't in control now. Once you leave that, your lecky's in control of that. If something goes wrong with your electricity, then it's curtains, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's done. It's finished. I've never been a lover of it. Never. And I've seen good results of it. I've seen good systems, good results, well-built systems, but for me, there's just that factor of I'm not in control.
And then the only time that I've ever experienced or heard about valves, and this was 4 years ago before you increased the aperture, the size of the opening, it was through growing negligence and not cleaning the system. My favourite story, it was from the chili grower. He had I think it was 2,000 plants in his polytunnel.
Who was that? Cliff? Was that?
No,
Dean?
Dean.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Dean for ages.
Yeah.
I need to touch base with Dean. But he had 2,000 plants, and I said to him, how many blockages he had with the old 4 mil pipe, was it?
It was, I think, an OD of 6 mil and an ID of 4 mil, I think.
Yeah, I think he said in his whole grow cycle he had 2. It was just out of 2,000 plants. In a polytunnel.
And he's hardly ever there. He was hardly ever there,
Oh, no, he controls it all from his phone, doesn't he?
Going down maybe a couple of hours of the weekend.
Yeah, and that's why I've always loved it. And now you've increased, you went to 6 mil, and now you've got the blue pipe. Which
so originally when I brought Autopot out, what was it, in, 2002, the aperture of the valve, or the actual hole in the valve, the nozzle, was, I think, 2 mil, 3 mil maybe. Then we went to 3 mil. It was 2 mil. Then we went to 3 mil. And then a couple of years back, we went to 5 mil. So the pipe that's attached to the aqua valve, the inside diameter, actually fits the old pipe inside it.
Yeah.
So I think it's 6.4, 6.6. And the outside pipe, I think, is 9.1. So what it did as well is made the pipe and all the fittings unique to what we changed it to, so that no one could go to Netafin or Hosellock or anyone and buy pipe or fittings off the shelf. They had to come to Autopot. So there was a strategy behind that as well. So it was unique to us. So we set our own blueprint for pipe work and fittings.
That's spot on.
A sensible thing.
Because people have used incorrect fittings in the past, haven't they? The off-the-shelf ones, and it's ended up causing leaking.
Yeah.
I've experienced that myself when I think it was a system sold by another manufacturer, and they were selling the 6-way T's and connectors, and I think they just landed in the shop, and they got given to a customer by accident, and it came back. It was like, I just can't stop it leaking. So I said, bring everything back, your piping and everything. And I think I actually messaged you saying there's a leak here, and you went, it's not an Autopot thing, valve. And you wouldn't think it makes a difference, but it obviously does. It does. And then you've run organics in this and that now as well. I mean, that's always been the thing that you couldn't do. Yeah, so you can run organics.
I mean, people, will still, if you run any sort of thick nutrients, that are quite molasses based, you're always going to have problems. And when we brought out the AquaValve 5, I thought, right, I'll run it through its paces. And there is a recipe to, if you're using thick organics, or if you're using organics in general, say BioBis, for example. And the best way to use them in Autopot is put a small water pump, not an air stone. Never put an air stone in an Autopot tank. Always, and if you're using organics or thick gooey nutrients, then put a small pump in there, and every 2 hours have it come on and oscillate for 15 minutes and just move it around. Clean the filter more regularly, flush the pipes more regularly. So I grew asparagus peas a while back. It's probably a couple of years back now. And followed those procedures, and you can see the information on the catalogue on the homepage. I think it's page 8 and 9. And as long as you follow those procedures, and if you need to clean out your tank more regularly, because organics will go off after a while, they'll smell like they've gone off, but they haven't gone off. They're still still available to the plant. So if you can get over the smell, then you're fine. As long as you agitate the water regularly, flush the lines more frequently, clean the filter more regularly, then you're perfectly fine. If you're going to start using organics in really hot climates outdoors in greenhouses, just don't bother. Because once you start getting into temperatures that Ben at the farm had this year, exceeding 50 degrees in the greenhouse, not many fertilizers are going to like that at all. So, but most, people are growing in small greenhouses or in, indoor facilities or whatever, then you're perfectly fine.
Yeah, spot on. I'm going to take this pause as well so that if people want to go and check out the systems while we're talking, you go onto the website autopot.co.uk and you also go onto their Instagrams, autopot_global and Autopot Cultivation Consultancy. So go and check them out, and you can, if you like to watch or look at what we're talking about, then head over there while we're listening.
There's the US as well, because you have quite a few US
Yes,
followers.
we do,
so
yeah.
there's www.autopot-usa.com.
Right, we'll put that up on the board for the next season as well. The Americans check that out. Your American team has been at MJ Biz, haven't they?
They have. They shared a booth with Montel.
Yeah.
So they were there all last week now, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so I haven't spoke to them to see how it went, but I presume it went quite well. I've heard some horror stories already. So,
have you?
Well, it all gets a bit sort of too much for everybody. They fly in, don't they? And then they go out for 7 days continually, and then try and do a show.
No, we did it we did it the summer. I say we. Barry did it the summer social, and he had a great old time on a Friday night. Spent most of Saturday on the bus recovering.
It was a long drive, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, and
I think that's what done it. Was a long drive.
You did tow the rally car there, didn't you?
Yeah, it was long-winded, wasn't it?
And then the bus was getting regassed for air conditioning on the Saturday while we were all in the show, and he's sat in there sleeping like sweltering.
I think I needed the aircon to be off though, because I sweated the hell out of him.
That was good.
I was back up active 6 o'clock.
I know you were partying.
It's a good blowout, isn't it?
It doesn't get there's not a huge amount of sales in the hydro industry, but you know a product that I love, and when we did the instructional videos a good few years back now, the one product I think I absolutely love more than others is the spider, because like when I saw you putting it together and saw it being put together properly, and the pyramid up to the top and the wicking system pushing down, I just thought, what an amazing system, because it's not like I always thought, the wick will moisten the soil and then that's how it feeds, but actually it's that the roots can wrap themselves around the wick, can't they, and literally draw the moisture from the wick. I thought, for gardeners, that's such I hope more than anything that gets out there, because that is a phenomenal product.
Because we have been, I think this is the third year now, we're the major sponsor, we are the major sponsor for the National Vegetable Society. Yeah. So there's a lot of National Vegetable Society members and other members that are starting to use, the aqua boxes now. And because of that video, it's so we can just direct them to that. They can see how it's set up. They've got customer support if they need that. Well, and also NVS members obviously speak very closely with each other as well, and they've got Medwin supporting the in-stocks and the likes, and Gareth Cameron. So there's a lot of support in the industry. And also, hopefully, next year we're going to start putting into the Royal Horticultural Society as well, because they are actively looking at environmental systems, watering systems. So ours fits the bill. Medwin used to sit on the board for the fruit and herb society down there, and Alistair Griffiths, who's the director of plant science down there, he uses systems. So with 500,000 members, we want to try and get a meeting there, and also they've been invited to come over to the R&D facility to come and have a look there. So hopefully in due course in the next 18 months we'll have all the products going into the RHS members as well.
Lovely. I'll come back to the R&D facility, but on the ecological and the environmental aspect of it, one of the thing that stuck in my mind, I think it was 5th or 6th podcast, we were at one of the very first Autopot Summer Socials, and we did a podcast, and we had the B-52 bomber fly over. Remember it like it was yesterday. And then you said that you would, through some of I can't remember which product it was, but if you use this versus traditional hand watering, it was going to save, was it 2 Olympic-sized swimming pools of
That was
water?
for the hanging basket, yeah. So the hanging basket I've designed probably in conjunction with the guy. He sent me over a concept, so we signed an NDA, and he sent me over a concept. So we've designed this hanging basket, which I like, but I'm designing products at the moment that I know will sell, because we've obviously got to look at the manufacturing cost of the tools, weigh it off against how many you'll sell, and obviously the cost of the product that it sells at. So the hanging basket design that we have, and I think I put it out on social media probably a couple of years ago, worked really well, but it's the cost of the tools are expensive. The cost of the product is probably going to be quite expensive, and are people going to catch on to it at this moment in time? But when we did that market research all those years ago, the wasted water that was used and this is probably going back 10 odd years now, so it might be a bit more now. So the wasted water that was used, or the water that was used for hanging baskets in the spring and summer in the UK, the amount that was wasted in hanging baskets would fill up the old Wembley Stadium every week.
Yeah.
It's a lot of water.
A lot
of water.
So that's what I love about it.
What's that, Jason? Just like the runoff from it? That's
just the runoff.
Just the runoff when people soak them. It's just the runoff that comes off.
That's what they've estimated, or the boffins have recorded. They've done the multiples of baskets that have in pubs, at home residential buildings, and if you water something through, probably 60% of it is going to fall out the basket. Yeah. Because you obviously want to water it through so that it's watered through. Yeah. And that's the problem. The amount of water that's wasted.
Wembley Stadium every week.
Yeah, that's a huge amount of water.
Yeah.
There's probably more now because, people do more gardening than they did probably 10 years ago.
Definitely, since they were all locked down. Yeah. But not only does it save water, all Autopot systems save water. They only use the water that the plant needs. It also saves on fertiliser as well. And we'll come to the fertiliser in a minute, but let's go back to your research and development facility, because I know you've been working on that for the last 2 or 3 years, haven't you? We visited, again, well before COVID, did a little bit of a tour around there. Where were we up to with the R&D?
Well, the R&D, I had a new roof on since you were last there, so I put on a 35. I had the whole roof changed in both buildings because I own 2 buildings now. And so the R&D roof, I had it all taken off. That was asbestos. It wasn't really bad asbestos, so we didn't have to bag up the building. And had it replaced with 35mm polycarbonate. The problem that I've got in there now, particularly this year when it was just ridiculously hot, is the solar gain that I'm getting from the sun, probably from, it was May this year, through to probably the end of August, September, was just too intense. So I've got a 12-ton air conditioning unit. I've got extraction. I've got fresh air coming in from the ground floor. I've got a misting unit that's pumping out 1,000 PSI pressured mist into there to keep the humidity levels up. And I'm fighting, the machines are fighting against each other. 1, to keep it cool, 2, to keep it humid. And we struggled this year. What I need to put in there, I've got 2 options that I'm going to do. I'm going to do the latter option, which I'll tell you in a sec, is that I need to put in shade, automatic shade, and actuators on the vents in the roof. The only problem is you start putting actuators in, unless you've got it pretty much sealed, then you've got pests potentially coming in. The other big issue that I've got is electrical costs. So at the moment, until July next year, we are tied into a contract with the electricity company at 15p a unit, which is brilliant. That's what we've been paying. July, it goes up to 46p a unit. So on average, throughout the year, I'm probably paying a little bit less in the summer period because it's cheaper to cool, and more in the winter period because it's more expensive to heat. So it averages out about £800 a month to run that facility, which I can live with. With the cost of electric prices going up in July, it's going to cost me $3,000 a month to run it. Yes, there's research and development, tax relief on it. But do I want to go from paying $12,000 a year to $30,000-40,000 a year in growing tomatoes? So I'm we're myself and Ray, once we got married next year, we're going to move down south, down to Somerset, Dorset, because he wants some land, and I want a walled garden, and I want a big greenhouse. So what we're thinking of doing is growing in the R&D facility probably from September through to March, maybe April, and then growing in a greenhouse or greenhouses down where we moved to, probably from, say, February through to September, October. So that'll negate the amount of power that we use, obviously, at the R&D facility. Hopefully prices will come down eventually, but that's the issue we're faced with at the moment. And then this year, I've always preached to all my staff, never bring a plant into the facility unless you've quarantined it. So I wanted to grow some sage, and I can't be bothered to germinate the seeds, so I'll just go and buy it. So I went into Waitrose and went, there's a plant. I'll buy that. That'll be fine. Didn't think anything of it. Put it straight in the R&D room, put it next to some plants, came back the following day, picked up the plant to pot it up, put it in an Autopot, and just white things flew off. I'm like, no. Whitefly. Mm-hmm. So I could not get rid of whitefly. It is the one pest that I've struggled to control, and I could not get rid of it. So made the decision at the beginning of August, get everything out, strip it down, smoke bomb it, and now it's ready to go propagation, and then we're going to go back in and probably run it till probably June. Well, we'll see what the weather's like next year. All depends on the weather.
Yeah.
But it's becoming... Obviously, I want it because we get clients coming from overseas, for potential distribution and stuff like that. But the issue is, it's the cost. Do I want to grow tomatoes that potentially per tomato is costing me 10 quid to grow?
How much was that tomato soup that you'd made?
How much of that now? You won't get that at Claridge's.
Like Michelin quality soup.
Well, it was all right then, but it's going to go up in price. You have to charge people coming through the door. Yeah,
that's good stuff.
So yeah, there's issues. I mean, we're just because the government also has just obviously had a budget the other day, and we're looking at the budget regarding R&D tax relief. And they've just reduced that dramatically as well. So we need our accountant to have a look at, the pros and cons of what we're doing at the moment to try and make things efficient. Because we've done all right over this year, actually. It's quite surprising. We've been very lean with, and cut things back and been sensible. And obviously, boxes and marketing and just been very sensible. Obviously, everybody in 2020, 2021 made hay while the sun shone. And thought it was going to carry on, and it didn't. It fell off a cliff. Fortunately, it was just hook or by crook. But I had the foresight to start looking at this new box design, the garden centre stuff, and various other, consumables, so that people buy stuff again and again and again. And that's what we've done. So, we've obviously got the Flexi Tank, we've got the Autopot range, we'll talk about the CO2 buckets, the source fertilizer, and obviously the rooting gels as well. So we're looking at consumables that we can slot into markets and just keep things ticking over in the background.
So tell us about the source, another lovely, beautifully designed bottle.
Yeah, so
I love the
Josh,
names.
It was quite funny actually, because Dave Gulliver, before he left and went to go and work for Mills, I said to him, what was it, the beginning of January this year, or probably before, I want to do a sort of an indoor horticultural fertilizer. And because for 20 years I've been telling everybody to use Canna or use this or 3-pot, and blah, blah, blah. So I thought, hold on a sec, the way things are going, and this is prior, before it really started rolling in, the decimation of what's going on. So prior to sort of a couple of years back, we'd started working with Hydroponics, and we started working with the universities in the UK to look at a suitable fertilizer that was as clean as possible and also very productive, but also very cost effective for Autopot. So played around in the R&D room for 18 months, 2 years. University Warwick did what they were doing, and then coming up with what we've come up with now. So I tasked Dave with coming up with the name, and Dave came up with the name The Source, which is brilliant. Then I said, right, I want a name for each product, for the Boost, for the CalMag. So we've come up for names for that. He came out with all those. Then he handed his notice in, which is what it is. And then Josh has obviously been tasked with Luke. Josh came up with the logo. And then obviously we've rolled out the concept and we're starting to gradually roll it out and moving it into the UK and the rest of the world as well. You know, we're forever asked by every man and his dog, what's the best fertilizer to use with Autopot? So instead of putting money into other companies' pockets,
it makes sense, doesn't it, to have
absolutely,
your own?
So, to all the Autopot users out there, if you're in, obviously we've got to try and get registration in various countries like Canada and the US, but the UK and Europe, we're fine at the moment. So, anyone who uses Autopot in those countries, we can happily supply it to the stores or the distributors in those countries, which we are doing bit by bit.
What I will say about the, because nutrients are difficult, aren't they? Because every man and his dog does a nutrient, but the one sort of thing that shines out for me, other than you've made it and I know it'll work really well, is that in Autopot, you're going to be exclusively using the source nutrients when you're growing products. So if you're using Autopots and you're using the source and you come under any sort of potential issues, you will be in a much better position to identify and resolve any issues.
Absolutely. And we've tried to make it as, as easy to use as possible. We changed the feed charts so that they are dedicated to certain types of plants. And also we've tried to stress in the instructions not to use other brands from other companies, because then you haven't got that equilibrium or that equal balance that's been created with that range. And I see it so many times where people think if they throw more at it, better things will happen.
Yeah, we get that a lot in the shop though, don't we? We figure out that people are putting 2 different brands of PK in at the same time, and it's like, what are you doing? Come on.
And it happens all the time. So, we're just trying to make it, the Autopot's got a huge following globally. We've been around for a while. We've probably sold 3, 4, 5 million aquavalves and various systems associated with it. So for people to use something that's recommended and designed, even though the source is a separate company, it's backed by me. It's been designed by, with me beside it. So Autopot, the source is a separate company. The source sells to Autopot, and then Autopot sells the source in the UK, and then the source sells the source outside the UK. if you can keep up with me there. So it makes perfect sense, after 20 years of promoting everybody else and everybody else making a fortune off the back of Autopot, which they have done. It made sense, but I didn't want to run into it and just create, something. So we've got an A and a B grower, an A and B flower, and then it's biostimulants that are tailored to Autopot, but not just to Autopot. You could take that fertilizer and use it in any other system and have good results. But obviously we've tailored it for Autopot, and we have stressed in all the instructions, just don't use, you start using a PK or you start using the formulas that are designed by the source, and then you have a PK or a booster from another company. If people think about it logically, other companies are never going to test other brands with their products because they want you to use their brands, their formulas.
Their full range.
Of course they do, because they've tested them together.
Yeah.
When people start using things from other brands and they start having, difficulties, it's probably because there's not a happy yin and yang going on with, with the fertilizers that are being used from one company to another. So really it makes sense to, use a complete range from, a recognized company that says this is what we recommend to use with our system. It makes sense from my point of view.
I love bringing out, I don't think anybody probably does Google it or look it up, but Mulder's chart, the scientific reason for wanting to use a homogeneous all-in-one nutrients that's been designed to be used together. You put a little bit of extra splash of PK, just look up Mulder's chart and you can see the antagonistic and I can't remember the other word now. Antagonistic. What's the opposite of antagonistic?
Oh, you're asking the wrong person.
You look at the chart and you've got the arrows going backwards and forwards. And you can see if you add a little bit too much P or K, it'll block calcium and magnesium. And you start doing your
Willy Wonka's. Create a world of problems for yourself.
Just
am I right in saying though as well that these ranges of nutrients who have got their own medias only tested on their own medias.
Of course they do.
So like canna, what would canna be like going into a gold label or going into a different range of Tommy or something like that? And they tailored to their own specific.
Yeah,
so when you're coming out with a proper media then?
No,
you're not going to do it.
That's designed for all types of media and all types of water.
Is it?
Yeah.
So it's perfect. I mean, I've tried it with 100% perlite, cocoa mixed with perlite, soil. You know.
So you've tested it on sort of everyone else's brand.
Tried it with everything.
But I am right in saying though that the Canada would only test on Canada media and Gold Label would only test on Gold Label's media.
Yeah.
So would there be a problem? Do you think if Gold Label went into Canada and Canada went into Gold Label?
No,
there'd be much.
Loads of people do it all the time, don't they? But
the
like I'll give you an example. Canada's a bit different because they do such a range of media, but they'll tell you, if you read and go on their website, they'll tell you what to do. If you use Canna Natural because it's unbuffered, you should really wash it through with calcium. Their feed is designed to be used with Canna Professional or Terra Professional, so that they know how much calcium has been added to the media, and then you know what's in the nutrients. You use it all together, harmony. It's the same with like what I was just saying about the sauce and using it in Autopots. When something's been designed with a system in mind and with the feed, any problems you're going to resolve very quickly. If you get in touch with Jason and go, right, I'm using nutrient X with this substrate in your system, you'll figure it out, but it's not going to be instant.
It's not as easy, no.
Yeah.
You know, and most people overcook things most of the time. They don't think about things logically. I mean, you know, people putting small plants under in 600-watt lights, you know, wondering why they're shriveling up and not doing very well when they've taken from a lovely, you know, environment in a propagation bay. But one thing I would say about the sauce that's different to all the other ones that's out there is that the way that we advise to use it is you put the A and B grow in or the A and B flower, depending where you're at in the stage with your plants, and select the EC level that you want, you know, that is typical for your plants where they're at, the stage of growth that they're at. And then you add the biostimulants. And what you'll find is that once you put your A and B, either grow or flower, you will have your desired EC level. With ours, once you put the biostimulants in there, whether it's the boost, the calcium, magnesium, the origin for the roots, that EC will increase. So let's say you set your EC with your A and B to 1.8. You'll probably find, depending on where the type of water you're in, it will rise anywhere between 0.2 to 0.5. So if you set it a worst case scenario at 1.8, you might find that it's risen to 2.3. It's a ghost EC. So we stressed it in the instructions, is that don't be concerned. Always set your EC with your NPK, A and B, grow or flower, and then put your biostimulants. And it's been trialled and tested by other people in this country, and they're saying, yep, we are setting our EC with the A and B. We are seeing an increase, a ghost EC level, but it's not affecting the plants at all.
We've had this conversation before about this
topic, don't we?
I love that topic because no one can ever give me the answer that you've just give is the answer that that's the rule that I work to. But then you speak to other people and they've got other. Like they'll put the A and B right back down in full flower, right back down to 1.5 mil per litre to put the boost and the PK in. And I'm like, is that right?
No, you shouldn't.
Is that right? No. Because I don't do that. As soon as I've EC'd me A and B, I just hang the EC stick back up and I couldn't tell you what it goes to. But I put everything else in because I think I know where it is.
And it works, hasn't it?
And
I think that's the straightest answer we've ever had, isn't it? Look, he's happy now.
I made up. He said that question to bed.
You know, because if you think your A and B grow or your A and B flower are your NPK, and it's the NPK that's being picked up by your Blue Lab truncheon or your truncheon, whatever you're using. Once you add, in our case, biostimulants, because they are quite organic in nature, and there are certain elements in there, like calcium, obviously, you're going to get, but it's not an NPK value. It is classified as a ghost value. So, you know, you set your EC with your A and your Bs, and then you add the other bits and pieces in, and that will artificially increase your EC. But it's not, you know, you're not having an EC, a real EC of 2.3. Yeah. Your real EC is 1.8. And your biostimulants that you're adding in are the ghost value.
Yeah.
So, it's just trying to get it across a different way of thinking. And, and the quantities that you have to put in with the source, per litre or per 10 litres, you're getting serious value for your buck. You really are. And what we've done as well, we've looked at short-term flowering plants. That's the way I call them. And then herbs and then tomatoes and greenhouse crops. And obviously with short-term flowering plants, a lot of people like to flush. You can't flush a plant, and I've stressed this in the instructions. The plant's been absorbing nutrients for the whole time you've been feeding it. What you're trying to do at the end is cleanse a plant. So you're trying to diminish or reduce the amount of elements that are in that structure or that, whatever, that flower, as much as possible. So it's as clean as possible. So what we do with the source fertilizer, you feed it with your A and your B and you put your biostimulants in. And then before you get towards the end of it, you start to drop, I think probably 3 weeks into 4 weeks before you're ready to cut everything down. You lose the A and B and you just for another week put your biostimulants in and then you just go on water, because I did a trial a while ago with tomatoes with Autopot. And because of the way Autopot's bottom fed, not top fed, run to waste, so you're not flushing through all the time, you'd be surprised how much an Autopot 15 litre pot, 25 litre pot stores fertilizer. Mm. So by dropping the fertilizer, let's say on week 5, for example, week 6, depending on the length of your flowering plant, you still got a lot stored up in that plant that plant will tap into. So you cut out the A and the B at a certain stage, just follow the charts appropriate to the type of plant that you're growing. And then you just give the biostimulants, and there's still biostimulants available in there. And then the plant will naturally take what's in that pot over that period of time when you're just giving water. So you're not flushing, you're actually cleansing the plant. Mm. I mean, I did another trial side by side where we grew tomatoes and we were feeding them very heavily, probably EC 3.2, 3.6, because we can, because we've got a controlled environment. And then dropping it, so there's no water for 3 weeks, and the plants didn't lose any colour. The only time that we lost colour in a plant, if we took one plant out of that run and flushed that probably with 10 litres of water, so that whole medium in that pot was just flushed. There was nothing left in it. Yeah. So that is a flushing technique that you could use. But if you've got hundreds of plants, it's not practical. But just to prove a point, how much is stored in an Autopot pot because of the way it works, it's quite surprising. So you can get away with feeding your plants water, which a lot of people want to do towards the end of their crop, just to give a nicer crop, and just provide water and then just let the plant naturally cleanse itself during that period of time. I mean, people in Autopot, I mean, I tell them anywhere between 2 to 3 weeks of just water at the end, which if you look about it logically, if you're growing in the grow stage, however long people grow, and you flower for a flowering stage, and then you drop the A and B flower at a certain stage, say week 5, week 6, you give 1 more week of biostimulants and 3 weeks of water, you're not using a great deal of fertilizer. Mm. So with the quantity that you're putting in and the way that the regime is set up, it's cost effective for the end user, to use that product, the source fertilizer, with Autopot hand in hand.
Yeah, works perfectly. Nice synergy.
Yeah.
2 more things before we get on to some juicy stuff. The CO2 bucket and your cloning gel.
Yeah, so CO2 bucket. So once again, I teamed up with Hydroponics. I get on with the guys there, and obviously they've helped develop the source. So the CO2 bucket, Jamie rang me up. This was probably this time last year, actually. So I've got this great thing, and I was sort of half listening, half not. And then about a couple of months later, he said, I'm going to send you one down. I was like, oh, okay, yeah, whatever. So he sent one down, and it was sitting, but he sent it to Dan Dazzini, and the box was sitting down in the warehouse for a couple of days. And I rang up Dan and I said, oh, Dan, you've got a box here from Hydroponics. He goes, oh, it's not for me. They've just got my name on the database, but it's for you. So I've opened up the box and went, what's this then? This is this CO2 bucket. And it's not very often these days that, you're surprised by products that work well, because you've got CO2 bags, which I think, in all honesty, have been a bit of people have been hoodwinked a little bit, because unless you go in your growing area every 20 minutes and squeeze that bag, it's just passively coming out a little bit here and there. And obviously you've got people with extraction on continually that's sucking it out. So the amount of CO2 that the bags make readily available to the plants, I think, is very negligible. And people are starting to find out. So the next thing you've got is the canisters, which are getting more expensive and they're big things to ship around. So this bucket came down to me, and I rang up Jamie and said, what's this then? He said, well, do this and try this. I went, okay. So I've got quite a professional CO2 monitor, and does dew point and does humidity and temperature from Rotronic. So I put a pump on it, and there was a 10 litre, and I got the pipe, the top upper pipe. So the bottom pipe's connected to the small little tiny pump. Maximum litres per minute is anywhere between 1.3 and 1.5. You don't need a bigger pump. Just blow the shit out of it. It's not necessary. And then the upper pipe you put into the back of an oscillating fan if you can. And it just obviously blows the CO2 in there. So I put my CO2 monitor next to the upper pipe, and within 20 seconds, it went to 10,000 parts per million. I was like, whoa, this can't be right. So then we got one of Jonathan Budbox tents. And the 5 litre is designed for a 1.2 to try and, get CO2 levels up to anywhere. We pretty much guarantee 800 parts per million, but I've tried it and I've taken up to 1,100 parts per million. So we put it in a grow tent, put it on, tested it. And I was like, whoa, these actually work. And what's in the bucket is a combination of manure and pumice stone and bacterias and feed pellets from, it's just a weird combination. I don't know what's in there. And obviously the guy who designs it for us won't let us know, which is fine. So Jamie, Hydroponic, and I have got the exclusive for it globally. We do a 5 litre bucket, which is for a 1.2 tent, and a 10 litre bucket that is for a 2.4 tent. You can put more in there. So you could have, and the way that I would recommend, because people are starting to jump on these, and we're doing really well with them. Totally organic, pretty much lasts 6 months. Once it's finished, you can empty that contents onto your garden or, your flower beds and turn it into the garden. It's totally organic, so it'll be good for the garden. And then we got refills now that you can put in there. The way I recommend using it, because most people have fans these days sucking stuff out. So I would have it sitting on the floor, and I would have a small oscillating fan that just where the pipe goes into the back of it so it can blow it underneath the plants. When people say CO2 is heavier, yes, it is, but it's not like lead. When CO2 gets warmer, it rises just like air. So it'll start rising up through under the canopy. If you go into any commercial facilities, tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, that I've done over the years, they have tubes that are all next to the plants on the floor. They're not up in the roof. They're all on the floor because heat gets warmer, CO2 gets warmer, and it rises. Yeah.
And if your extraction's at the top of your tent,
exactly.
Mainly, you want everything to come from the floor up, don't you?
Absolutely. So, people saying that they should put, because CO2 is heavy and it'll sink, that's a fallacy. It's rubbish. So these buckets can be sat on the floor. They operate ideally at 20, perfect for them is 22 degrees. If you're storing them, store them at 15 degrees. And the best way to use them is pulse them, because if you run it continuously, there's going to be it'll fire out high concentrations of CO2 for the first 10, 15 minutes, and then it'll just be lower levels of CO2. So if people's fans are on continually, or they time their fans, you have it come on when the lights come on, and you have it on for maybe 5-10 minutes maximum, then off for an hour. And I've tested it, and that'll give enough time for the bacteria at that 22 degrees to generate more methane, CO2, and then it comes back on again, and then it fires out high levels of CO2. Reports we're seeing of people who've used bags and not used bags is there's a dramatic difference, because you've got the CO2 seriously being injected in there and then rising up through the canopy. You could, if you wanted to, have 2 in there. You could have one come on at 12 o'clock, 5-10 minutes, wouldn't come back on till gone 1 o'clock, but the other one would come on at 12:30.
Yeah, so you could have them staggered.
So you could have them staggered. So one comes on every half an hour for 5 to 10 minutes, and you can really maintain the levels. And it's cheap. You know, if you think about it, I mean, retail, I think the 5 litre is 75 quid, and the 10 litre, I think, is 110 quid, but they last 6 months.
Yeah.
So do the maths on it, and you haven't got a cart, many of them around. They're totally reusable. The pump's not really going to burn out because you've only got it, you know, a little tiny pump. It's just pressurising that bucket and pushing the CO2 out of that little pipe that's then being oscillated behind the back of a fan. And they do work a treat, and they do maintain levels. I mean, we're still testing CO2 buckets that we had on test in April, and they're still kicking out high levels of CO2. So, yeah, they are, I
like the sound of them.
I think the best
I've never been convinced by the bags, to be fair.
No.
I've never been convinced by the bags. I've always said that I've never.
Well,
I think maybe in a 60x60 propagation tent where you've got a couple of 1 litre pots just to give them the best start of life is have the bag in there. Yeah, great. But you go putting 2 of them bags in a 2.4 by 2.4 tent. I can't see that making a blind bit of difference.
They don't. I know they don't.
And it's like you say, the expense that's in them as well. Even the bottles are slightly dearer, the same price.
No, the bottles
and they only
are
last
£30.
What did they last?
2 weeks.
2 weeks, 3 weeks. It's a lot of money, that.
Well,
especially if you work it out, it's £30 a bottle. So 6 weeks of that is £90.
Yeah.
You may as well buy one of them for
absolutely
£110.
And
it's
the
going to
thing
last
is
you 6 months.
You're controlling it as well, because plants don't really want CO2 when they're in the dark, and when it's night time. They want to have oxygen, and then they want high levels of CO2 when the lights go on. So you can control that by plugging that pump into your timer.
Yeah, you just have that in a plug and grow timer, wouldn't you? So it comes on 15-minute segments every hour.
I think the timing there is a great shout. Most people will just whack them on and not allow that CO2 to build back up. So having that on a time was a great top tip. I like that.
No, it is. And they do work a treat. We've seen people use them. We've had reports back from them. And what we did to prove a point in the industry, we found a cost-effective detector, which we managed to get from China, that are actually pretty decent for the money that they are, so that the shops could test the CO2 buckets against the bags. And then, I know the bags don't work properly. I know it's a bit of a gimmick. And unless you squeeze those bags, you're not going to get high levels. Most people hang their bags above the plants anyway. And if they squeeze them, the CO2 is going to suck it straight out, and the plant's not available to the plant because it wants to rise up into the canopy and up and out. That's what CO2 wants to do. Yes, it's heavier than air, but it's not lead. And as it gets warmer, it will start to rise and go up through the canopy. And we've put the detectors in the shops and shown them what, the CO2 buckets kick out. And then they've taken it upon themselves to put them next to the bags. And it's a no-brainer, to be honest with you. Yeah.
So if a shop wants to get the CO2 buckets, to get them direct from Autopot?
Yeah, they get them from Autopot, or they can get them from Hydroponics. Yeah. I mean, we're the main guys who are distributing. If they want to get them outside the UK, Autopot's the only company they can get them from. Yeah. So that's globally. We're about to change in due course because they come pre-activated. So we've had spills in the summer and they smell, and it's just and then obviously I don't want to have stuff hanging around and then being shipped to Australia and in containers really hot. So we sat down with the guy who's designed the concept and said, look, I ideally would like this in a pre-vac bag.
Where it's 6 months at the end user.
Yeah, so it's 6 months, so the end user can activate it themselves. So obviously my concern was, how long does it last in the bag? And his reply was 5,000 years. I was like, okay, that'll do.
Yeah,
so you literally, in due course, you will start getting a dry mix in bags, in the buckets, that you'll then literally just follow the instructions. You'll open the bag up, drop it in the bucket, pour your hot water, not boiling water, but hot water into, if it's a 5 litre, I think it's 1.2 litres. If it's a 10 litre, it's 2.5 litres of hot water. Leave it for 24 hours. You've got 6 months.
Yeah. Nice. And that's not something that you'd have to shake up or mix up. No, just leave then.
You just leave it.
That can just sit in the same spot.
Absolutely, yeah.
Is the bucket okay being in the tent?
Absolutely, yeah. They're food grade buckets. Yeah, they're perfectly fine. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with them being in the tent at all.
Yeah, I'm excited about that.
I like that.
One of the top 10 questions we get in the shop is, I'm not in a closed room system, but I really want to put CO2 in.
Yeah.
So if you're not in a closed room system...
I talk people out of them bags. I talk people out of them. I do.
Yeah.
Just because I know myself personally looking at it, I can just see it's like...
It's a gimmick.
I've always looked and thought, we'd probably be all right in the 60x60 tent.
Yeah.
Little tent with a little LED in it, just to get your
1.2
babies up and going and give them the best start of life. Yeah, put one of them bags in there.
If you go in and squeeze it on a regular basis, you are, but you really want the bag on the floor. So then
that's like the bottle, load of bottles the same. You've got to go in and shake that, haven't you?
Yeah.
And then you hear it hissing, but then it slows down instantly. Do you know what I mean?
You know, if you look, if commercial growers of tomatoes and cucumbers put all their CO2 tubing on the floor, they do that for a reason.
Yeah.
One, because they've been in business for 40, 50, 60 or X amount of generations, and they know what they're talking about. If you've got extraction, heat rises, CO2 will get warmer and it will rise. So if CO2 comes out of a bucket and the bucket's hanging up in the top of the growing area and the fan's up there, it's not going to benefit the plants.
Yeah.
So, 99 times out of 100, I think people who use the bags, they hang them up above their... Well, it's not beneficial at all. It's just going to get sucked out.
Yeah.
They'd have more benefit if they put the bags below the plants, but then you've got to squeeze the bag on a regular basis because it's only passively coming out.
Yeah.
I like the way the bags are sized as well. So like you said before, like a 5 litre does a 1.2 by 1.2 and a 10 litre does a 2.4 by 1.2.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can gauge that if you're in a 2.4 by 2.4, you need 2 10 litre buckets.
Yeah.
And it'd be better because you'd have them staggered anyway,
Yeah,
different
you can
sides of the room.
them and do what you've got full control of your CO2 distribution. Then, by using these, you haven't got to cart big heavy bottles around.
It's an easy product, isn't it? With easy instructions to use, you can't go wrong with that kind of.
And it's reusable. You've got 6 months. As soon as you pour that in the bucket and activate it, you've got 6 months, and it's fully compostable. Yeah. Just put it in your mum's garden, your own garden, just till it into the ground. And it's good for all the stuff that's in there is beneficial for plants.
Yeah, I like that product.
I do. I like it.
We'll be putting an order in for them. Solves a problem, doesn't it?
That's them there, isn't it?
Yeah, that's one there.
Yeah.
I'll leave you that one there so you can have a play.
Lovely, thank you. The
rooting.
So
rapid roots, yeah. So once again with Hydroponic. So Jamie sent me a couple to basically we're looking for obviously stuff that's consumable. So we've gone for the source because obviously if people buy Autopot, it lasts their lifetime. Yeah. So we're looking for stuff that, the people are going to buy again and again and again and be happy with it, and unique products. So obviously there's the source, then there's the CO2 buckets, and just recently, obviously there's the rapid roots. So the rapid roots is 100% organic. So we've tested it against the leading other gels and the leading other powders, and it's equal or better. And the results we're getting back from all the bottles we've handed out are confirming that. Where we're going to start making a difference is because certain brands are now being limited to, distribution and size of bottles because the synthetic.
Yeah, because it's a hormone, isn't it?
Yeah, the synthetic. Whereas everything that's in the rapid roots rooting gel, it's all derived from seaweed. So it's the bladderwhack seaweed, I think, or something like that.
No, I didn't know there was that many different seaweeds,
It sounds like
someone tells
Harry
me a
Potter.
different one every time, and I go, these seaweeds, is there?
Yeah.
So there's hundreds of different types of seaweed all around the world in different types of seas. So this is a specific type of seaweed that is harvested at a specific time of the year. And I think I'm correct in saying that it's harvested when the sea, and it grows on the seashore, just within the sea, but just on the seashore. So you can imagine the type of aggression of the waves that are on there. So this is a very strong plant that has to, produce to survive. Yeah. So they harvest this seaweed and then obviously extract whatever they want out of it and then bottle it and put it in the Rapid Roots bottle. There's nothing added to it. It's just literally what comes out of the seaweed. And obviously they've designed it and composed it. So, it'll last. And we put it in a nice, cute little dispenser. So with lots of other gels, and I see it time and time again, people will take a cutting and they will put that cutting straight into that, and they contaminated it straight away. Whereas this has got a dispenser, we do it in a 50ml dispenser and a 200ml dispenser. Whereas the other leading rooting gel, I think they're restricted to a 50ml now.
Just a 50ml bottle.
Because of, the issues with the product or the contents that's in it. I mean, it's a very good gel and it has been for years. But we want to capitalise on the restrictions that they have. So by having an organic rooting gel that people are saying, we say, oh, it's as good as, the other leading powders, the other leading gels, have a go. So they are having a go and they are coming back and going, you're right. So that's good enough for me. So the idea is for us is to start positioning, another consumable, the 50ml and the 200ml rapid roots into the UK, into Europe, and obviously into all the commercial facilities that are not allowed to use synthetic rooting gels in their facilities in Canada and also in America. So we should, in due course, we've done the trials over the last 6 months and it's still being trialled at the moment. Everything's positive. We had no bad press at all. And I think it will become within the next sort of 2-3 years, one of the leading organic gels. And also it's very user friendly because you just have a dispenser and you just press it, a 1 ml comes out. So you can just dispense into a little cup or a little, measuring cup, 4 or 5, 6, 7 ml. And you put that to one side. As long as you keep it in a cool place, not in direct sun, it's going to last a couple of years.
Yeah.
So, whereas, people inadvertently put a cutting straight into,
and it's finished,
into a synthetic gel and then, it contaminates it.
It's not that I like the sound of the 250s because we get people in the shop all the time who buy 3 and 4 bottles at a go. Yeah. And it's like,
Yeah. So, and other rooting company, the gel companies, they're restricted at 50ml bottle and that's it. Whereas we could do IBCs if we wanted to, so we've got the 50 and the 200. So it just makes it easier and it's just easy for people. It's nice and clean. Yeah. And then also, if you've got a little bit of excess in the cup, then you can just put that in your tank. You can just mix that in your tank. You don't have to throw it away. You just mix it in your tank. What other people would generally do is they would put their, dispense it from, another leading brand, pour it in the cup, put the cup in and then pour it back in and you've contaminated it again. So it doesn't allow people to contaminate what's in that canister because there's no access in that canister because it's just dispensed by a presser.
Yeah. Apparently them other ones are bad though, aren't they, as well, for you if you get them on your skin and that. Apparently there's some of them are bad.
Well, that's why there's restrictions in the EU and the restrictions around the world because of the synthetics that are in them. Whereas, like I said, this is 100% organic, so we've got no restrictions whatsoever. There's always been issues. Can organic rooting gels be equivalent to synthetic rooting gels? And up until now, the answer was no. But now we've proven a point that they can.
Nice.
Obviously available from Autopot. We'll be taking pictures
as well.
What's the
sort of retail prices on them?
I think the retail price on the 250. Oh, sorry, on the. I think the retail price on the 50ml, I think, is £12. I think the buy. Oh no, the buy price. I'll tell you that off camera and off air. And I think I can't remember how much the 200ml is, but there's good value for everybody. There's really, I can't remember. I mean, Nick can let you know anyway what the prices are.
Spot on. I'll be putting all pictures up of these products as well on the podcast at NPK podcast, so you can check all them out as well. Right. We're not going to spend forever because I just wanted to pick your brains on these little few subjects to wrap up the podcast with. I just wanted to say this is our first opportunity as well to say that it's about nutriculture and what's happened there. Very sad, a representation of what's happening around the world and in all industries and obviously specifically this industry. So very sad to see that go and a granddad company, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, they were going, 46 years, I think they were going.
That how long they've been going? I know they all wanted the very first, weren't they?
Yeah, well, they were. I mean, John formed it and Mary formed it, I think it's 43, 46 years ago.
Didn't he used to work out of his house?
I think so. I mean, we all did. I did, it was the same with me. I used to work out of my house when I first started. I think with nutriculture, I mean, from my point of view, I got stung by a little bit of money. They owed me some money, so it's a little double-edged sword for me. But yes, it is sad, and I can imagine John's turning over in his grave. But I think the company wasn't very well run in the mid 2000s by one particular person, and I won't name his name. He probably knows who he is anyway. And then it was passed on to Paul and his team to try and sort it all out. And it was very difficult because I think, obviously, Nutriculture lost brands. They lost a little bit of confidence, I think, in the market within the UK, maybe not locally within the Liverpool and Lancashire area. And obviously, you know, you had people who were horrified with what Hydrogarden did in the past, and then I think it sort of escalated a little bit to Nutriculture, and I just don't think they moved with the times fast enough. I mean, they brought product design, I don't think was their strong point, and you know, they did well in little areas, but they just didn't manage to capitalize on it. And unfortunately, you know, if you're turning over 17, 18 million, you know, in 2019 and making a net loss of 400,000, you're on a slippery slope. And I just think in the mid 2000s, from 2010 to 2018, it was badly run. And there's one particular person, in my point of view, who's responsible for that. And then, you know, Paul and everybody else were passed on this atomic baton to try and fix what was, you know, which was, you know, unfortunately a sinking ship.
Which was too far gone.
Too far gone. Yeah, I do feel sad, but obviously I feel a little bit annoyed that they knocked me for, you know, quite a bit of cash. And it is what it is. But yeah, that's the way it is. It just makes you a little bit more hesitant on giving anyone credit moving forward. Yeah. Because, you know, you've got to be very, very careful. And at the end of the day, I'm a big believer you don't go into a newsagent and pay for your paper tomorrow. So I've always been quite restrictive on credit. Because I've got Autopot and it's unique. Someone can't just go and buy it from someone else down the road. They have to come and buy it from us or a distributor. So yeah, no, I do sympathise with, you know, the guys who tried to pick up the pieces in sort of 2017, 18, with the mess that was left, and the way that the staff, I think, well, from what I hear, were treated. So, you know, in my view, there's only one person that I think is to blame for that, and he obviously knows who they are, but he'll never take responsibility for it. And I think that was the beginning of the end for them, in all honesty. And it is quite sad because I think they borrowed a lot, they hemorrhaged a lot of, you know, assets against keeping Nutriculture, and I think, you know, from what I'm hearing, a lot of it's gone, you know, completely gone by the wayside now, which is sad. Yeah. And there's obviously people swimming around now, like vultures, you know, wanting to pick the bones of the carcass. And there always is. That's business for you. Yeah. You know, see if there's anything beneficial. But, you know, it's not just Nutriculture. There's a lot of other companies struggling out there. You know,
I think everyone, when you were saying about like credit and that, I think everyone sort of realised that, haven't they, about credit, and pro forma's become a big thing now, hasn't it? Where it weren't, it was always credit off the suppliers and stuff, wasn't it? And
kept things.
There was a bit of grace where I think a lot of people now is just everyone's pro forma, and I can understand it. Yeah, because it's your safety net, not no one else's. It's your safety net.
No, if your business goes under, you know, well, let's put it this way. I'm sure no one will see in this industry everyone clubbing together to give a load of money to help Nutriculture. That's not going to happen. I mean, the sad thing that did make me a little bit sad is that certain stores that were holding back on paying Nutriculture were quite happy once it happened, because then they thought they didn't have to pay the money.
And you're always going to have to pay that bill back.
Of course you got. They're going to bring in the loss adjusters, you know, the administrators.
Someone's going to buy that debt and chase you down.
But it just made me a little bit sad that people thought they got away with not having to.
That debt will end up more than what it originally was by the time someone buys that debt, and everything else goes on top of it. Their fees go on top. So they might get away with it for 6 months to a year, but it will come knocking at the door.
Yeah. Of course they will. Well, they want to collect all the debts. You know, the aim of the administrator is to, you know, because obviously Nutriculture owe a lot of money to a lot of entities. And the aim of the administrator is to bring in or liquidate those assets and get all the money that's owed to Nutriculture back into the pot, so then it can pay its bills. And, you know, the first one will be HMRC, the VAT man, all those types of people. And then everyone else.
You're not holding your breath. You're last in the chain by the sounds of it.
No, I won't get mine. But you live and learn, you know, at the end of the day. You know, it's not many times I've been knocked in the industry, and it's not a nice feeling. The thing was, I knew it was coming, and I should have, you know, hindsight, I should have just put them on pro forma. But, you know, you live and learn. It's not going to kill me.
One other thing I want to touch on, because I don't really want to go over it in future podcasts. I just wanted to, and I'd love I know I'll get your genuine and honest opinion. Grow Well and One Stop being bought by Eden Horticulture or Alex.
I've read an Instagram, just to stop you, I've read an Instagram post this morning that the Cannock, who is it, the Cannock shop? Is that Grow Well or One Stop?
One Stop.
They've shut now, the Cannock shop.
You just go to one store.
Till after Christmas or something like that. They've shut one store. I don't know what that was about.
My opinion is, although years ago we disagreed on the way Grow Well and shops like One Stop, they were just like, they just went, for me, they weren't like the best advice shops. It was like, come in, get saved, get out. It was like turnover, like a supermarket. But that's just different companies and different people doing business. I haven't spoke to a lot of people, but I feel like there'll be a lot of people saying about the owners of One Stop, oh, I can't believe they've sold to Alex or Ian. Same for Grow Well, how have they sold out? At the end of the day, we're moving from a cottage industry to something that's become more like traditional industries, and that's the way business gets done. If One Stop didn't sell, I'm not saying that they would. They could have gone. Would they have gone? If they had, if they were on that, in that sort of level, then, and they had have gone, who would have paid for those persons' jobs? They're paying the salaries, putting the food on the table, doing everything that a job gives them. All those people have still got jobs. Do you know what I mean? There's still, it's still functioning. So I don't see it being a massive. There is problems, but if I just don't think you can slate the owners of Grow Well or the owners of One Stop for having to make the decisions that they don't. They obviously have. If in a perfect world, they wouldn't have sold.
No one wants to sell 50, whatever percentages. No one wants to sell any of the business.
Yeah.
But if you do it, it's for a certain reason, isn't
and
it?
I just don't think you should give people a load of shit over it. And anyone giving Alex or Eden a load of shit over it. He's a switched on lad. I don't agree with it personally, because I think it's wholesalers can now sell them direct to end users, which is a debate by itself. But at the end of the day, he's just looking at, he's not here to make friends. He's just here as a businessman. He's here to make money. And rather than like moaning or crying about what other people are doing, focus on what you're doing and how you're going to move your company forward. You spend too much time crying about other people. You look back at your company and next thing is you're looking like, oh shit, I need to look after my own shit.
I need to get Alex on the phone. I need to tell him 50% of my business.
Just thought what your take on it would be, just to finish off the podcast.
Well, I remember hearing your podcast a couple of weeks back when you were going on about Alex, and I was like, not quite. I don't quite agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, Alex, I've spent a little bit of time over the last sort of year with Alex, just a little bit of meetings here and there. And he started young, you know, he started very young. He's, you know, obviously he's got financial support in the early days and probably mentoring from his father, who's, you know, a wealthy chap. And I don't think Alex was very well welcomed in the industry when he first came in the industry, because, you know, he was being competitive, and that's what industry is all about. If he hadn't gone into Grow Well, I think Grow Well wouldn't have existed anymore.
Yeah.
Grow Well, even though Alex is, you know, helping support it, it's still struggling. It's still struggling a lot. Same with One Stop, as far as I understand. If Alex hadn't intervened, that wouldn't have been anymore. That would have gone bankrupt. So from Alex's point of view, he, you know, he's a businessman, and, you know, he wasn't, in his view, you know, from my understanding, he wasn't very well treated, and still isn't, you know, still resented by a lot of people, because generally people, if people are successful or ruthless in business, they're not liked. You know, look at Elon Musk, for example. Most people don't like him. One, because he's a plonker, and two, because he's very wealthy. You know, and the same with Richard Branson. You know, you imagine where Richard Branson started in a telephone box. Now he's got, you know, people who think he's God and people who can't stand him. And that's always going to happen in an industry. Alex is just a good businessman. He's got the available funds to be able to do what he needs to, you know, to facilitate what he needs to do. But I think what you've also got to understand is that there's probably maybe 30, 40 stores in the UK that are now buying tents or fans or extracting machines or any other stuff direct from China.
Yeah.
So then the distributors aren't selling to those shops. So then they're losing money because they're taking money off the distributor's table, which is always going to happen because the shops want to make more of a margin themselves. So it's always going to, you know, no matter what industry you're in, there was always going to be that cutthroat, and it's become more cutthroat since the pandemic, because you've gone through the pandemic when everything fell off a cliff. And it has for everybody, you know, no matter, you know, maybe mills are doing
we had this conversation about shops becoming, what was it, shops becoming wholesalers.
Yeah, well, they will do. You know, there's certain, like, you know, like you said earlier, mills are doing okay. You know, that might only last for a period of time because of the market they're supplying into. But, you know, generally prices have gone up for everybody, overheads have gone up, and everyone's fighting for that little bit of meat on the table. Yeah. And it'll be the survival of the fittest. You know, I'm hearing horror stories about lots of other companies. You know, if you look at the distributors, you know, the main distributors in the UK, they've all been fighting over similar products for many years, and margins have been getting tighter and tighter and tighter. And if you're working on, you know, 5% margins of products being sold, and suddenly container rates go up from $2,500 to $20,000, you're in serious trouble. Yeah. So it is literally people fighting for what they can get, and they're fighting amongst themselves. And that will always happen. And then, you know, the likes of Alex and, you know, various other companies that are strong will rise above that, and the other ones will just fall by the wayside. Because I don't think you've seen the worst of it yet, in all honesty. The way I see it at the moment, yes, very sadly, Nutriculture's gone, and for various reasons it has. But I think you're going to see other distributors slowly disappear, you know, over the next couple of years. And people will go, well, how did that happen? And it's because there's not much margin. There's everybody fighting. You know, there's shops obviously bringing their own products in. You've got the, you know, a certain country coming in here and taking over the industry. So, you know, there's lots of economic and financial reasons why things are happening. But from Alex, I mean, I quite like Alex, in all honesty, and I know a lot of people don't. And the reason I like him, because I've always got on with him from point of view, I've been very honest with him and he's been very honest with me. And, you know me for a long time. I don't suffer fools lightly, you know, I don't. But I've been, you know, we've spoken honestly several times, and I'm happy with that. And I know how he felt when he first came in the industry, and it didn't make him feel very accepted in the industry. And maybe, you know, it was because of what he was doing and he rubbed people up the wrong way. But be careful of the devil you know, because, you know, Alex is a mover and shaker in the industry, and the sooner the people come to realise that, the better they'll be able to accept it and work with it. If shops are upset with Alex, then if you don't want to feed the devil or whatever in people's minds, you just don't buy from him. It's as simple as that. You know, if you don't want to support Alex, or you don't feel, you know, Alex is doing the right thing in the industry, Alex is doing what's right for him. Yeah. And what's right for his staff and what's right for his business, you know, model. And if he feels to buy Grow Well and own 90% of Grow Well, and I don't know what percentage he bought of One Stop, then that's free for Alex to do that, you know, and you know, he's kept people in jobs. You know, if he hadn't done that with Grow Well would probably gone. Yeah. And exactly the same with One Stop. So he's strategically positioning himself in the industry and doing it the way he wants to. Are people going to start trying to blackball him or not supply to him? Maybe, because they see him as a threat. And that's business for you. You know, I can't see Shell and and Exxon or whoever they are, BP being friends and let's share oil rigs and distribute oil together. That doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So, it's just that, the industry's moving on. You've got all the issues with banking and, and various other things that are going on in the industry. And that's just all thrown in the pot with, everyone fighting for sales and things changing within the industry. So, yeah, I mean, if people aren't happy, then you just don't buy from someone. You don't help facilitate or boost their profitability. But, people will say one thing and they'll do another thing.
I know.
And that's the problem with the industry. Years ago, they tried to set up an association. And the problem is people can't even remember half the time they even went to the association. So the industry's got to try and become more business-like and more professional, whether they want to facilitate or support, people coming from overseas and doing what they're doing. That's entirely up to them. That will last so long because laws will change as they are changing in Germany, and they will change in due course. They will change in this country as well. We'll probably be behind the curve because we're not part of the EU now. Yeah. And the UK thinks it's godly compared to everybody else in the world. I mean, they always have done, the superior. The UK government and the UK aristocracy, I can't even say it, aristocracy, have always thought that they're more superior than the rest of the world. And that's, that's the mantle they've always carried on their shoulder. So I think in regards to legalisation over here, I think the UK will probably be the last, but it's not about, this is going to kill you. This is about how much money can we make from it now.
Yeah.
And that's what it's
about. That's always what it's about though, isn't it?
I think what you'll see is what you're seeing in Canada at the moment, and America is, well, particularly Canada, use that as the benchmark. Canada, we first did our set up our first commercial facility in Nova Scotia at a place called Organogram. And that was, I think, 2012, 2013, as Canada was starting to put its name on the map. And there were caregivers there. And then in 2017, 2018, then they legalised it. And there was a boom beyond belief for everything growing. And now that has just been blown out. The manufacturers or the LPs or the big commercial facilities have managed to get their product better than it was. It's now really cheap in the dispensaries. People can't be bothered to grow, and it's cheaper to go into the dispensary. When people were asking me 6, 7, 8 years ago, I was regarding what do you think of it becoming legal here in the UK? I'd be careful what you wish for. Then in 2017, 18, 19, when we were doing very well and so was everybody else, great. But now you realise the consequences of everybody coming in, all the suits coming in, smashing the price out of it, not doing very well with quality initially, but then getting a handle of it, then putting it into dispensaries and the price just coming down and just not being worth anything anymore. You can, pick just as cheap as paper. Exactly the same will happen in the UK here. And Germany and everything, you'll have a big influx. You're always going to have people who want to grow their own because they don't want to buy from Big Brother, which I understand. You're always going to have people who want to grow their own so they know what's in it,
what's being
used to grow it, which is fine. And I would always push people, the problem is you've got electricity prices now, and you've got all the other issues that are going on. So is it cost effective for someone to grow, or do you want to pop down to the local dispensary and buy it down there? So I think what you'll see as Germany comes on board, once Germany comes on board, obviously that's one of the biggest powerhouses in Europe. Malta's already done it. You'll see a huge influx of people growing in Germany. Then the big boys will come in, and then they'll take over and the dispensaries, and then the purchases of homegrown equipment will start to diminish again. And I think you'll see that country on country, and then it will happen here in the UK. And when I had a chat with a friend of mine, a family friend, a quite wealthy family, and he's got a couple of projects in Africa, and he wanted to go to one of the African countries, can't remember which one it was, to set up a big cannabis facility to supply Germany. Well, Germany have already stated in their white paper that once they're up and running, they will not accept any imports from any other country. Yeah. So all these companies that are going to Africa thinking that they're going to start shipping into Germany and France, That ain't going to happen.
And
logically, it's not going to happen, because why would you want to take the worker on from the workforce in Germany and have an African country produce it cheaper where you've got no control? You know, you might GMP it, but it's still going to have to be tested when it comes into Germany, and it might be cheaper, but the Germans obviously want to keep it, you know, in-house. Yeah. So, I think there's a lot of change in the industry, and a lot of economic issues, a lot of financial issues, and a lot of changes.
Interesting times.
I've always said, and I just don't think it will ever come here. I just don't think.
Oh, I do.
Do you?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, it will do. It'll just be, if you think about it logically, right? What are they called? GW. What are they called? They're called GW, aren't they?
Yeah, GW Pharmaceuticals.
GW Pharmaceuticals. So what is it? 2 years ago, they sold their majority shareholding to a company called Jazz Pharmaceuticals in Ireland. So GW Pharmaceuticals in 2016, 2017 were the largest producer and exporter of medical cannabis in the world. A lot of the shareholders that sit as either board members or shareholders for GW Pharmaceuticals / Jazz Pharmaceuticals are high-flying businessmen, MPs, lords, blah, blah, blah. Would you want your nest egg to be your Fabergé egg to be diluted by every man and his dog being able to do what they want to do, so that Epidiolex and Sativex are not used anymore because they've spent billions on running these through processes, you know, to get them certified and approved by the MRHA. So I think it will be the last country, but they'll have no choice, because there'll be a democratic, there'll be a vote for it, and there'll be lobbying government to say, well, how can you have France, Germany, Luxembourg, Spain, Italy, all fully recreational, but not the UK? And I think there'll be, and they'll have no choice, because it'll be people power in the end. And people are already pushing that envelope down the table. And it will change. And I think, things will start to change through Carly from CanCard. We're doing some business we're going to be doing some business with Carly in due course, which I'll probably tell you in a couple of years' time. But yeah, it will change. It'll probably go medical here first, and they'll probably try and hold on to that mantle for as long as they can, and then look at how they can structure, the dispensary sort of, the way the dispensaries will sort of start opening up here in the UK. I mean, you go to Thailand, for example. I mean,
that was overnight, wasn't it?
Oh, it's ridiculous.
Was overnight.
I mean, Thailand at the moment, because we're starting to do some business there, and we're at an exhibition at the end of this month. One of our distributors is, and I think it was around June this year. If you look at the Thai government or the Thai economy, it's reliant on travel or people going in there, and tourism. So obviously, with the pandemic, it absolutely massacred and decimated the Thai economy, because obviously most of it's tourism. So they very quickly jumped on, right, we are going to legalize cannabis, and there is cannabis absolutely everywhere. I mean, 7-Elevens in Thailand are 2 a penny. Every 7-Eleven, there are now 2 dispensaries. So there are it's everywhere.
What is it doing them good, money-wise? Must be.
Well, yeah, no, it's doing them good. But now the government is really, because obviously you're getting Western guys coming in there who are growing and bringing seed stock, and, there's UK companies trying to get registration over there for fertilizers and things like that. But the Thais, people have got to be very Thai. I mean, I've been doing business in Thailand since, God, how long? Since 2000. Well, I lived in Thailand since 1990. I've probably spent 5 years of my life on and off there. I've got a couple of businesses over there that own land. We bought it in the very early 2000s. And Thais are very, they call it, what do they call Thailand? The Kingdom of 1,000 Smiles. And I've always said, you've got to be very careful, because they're having you over when they're smiling. And so people, all these entities going over there, setting up businesses with Thai companies and Thai, they've got to be very, very careful, because the Thais, even though they're very old fashioned in the ways that they grow, obviously the Western society coming in will get them up to speed. But once the Thais start seeing money, those business relationships will quite quickly disappear if they don't want them to be, to be cemented anymore. So there's a lot of Western companies diving in over there, and they just need to be very, very careful. How they think the Kingdom of Smiles is going to keep on smiling on them, sort of 5-10 years down the line, because the Thais aren't stupid. They want to grow stuff as cheap as possible, and the problem with Thailand is that it's very, very high humidity. So you have to really grow indoors to make it, to produce an effective crop. Otherwise, you've got mold. You've got 80% humidity all the time. So you've got to go indoors. You've got to use power. The grid is awful over there. You're always in power outages all the time. So you've got to have generators, backup generators. So obviously, from our point of view, it's great because we don't require any power for our systems. But obviously, lighting equipment, you do. So, it's going to be interesting to see, because I know I've been speaking to my distributor over there, and he's an American guy, and he's been over for 20 odd years, and he gets the feeling, and I'm also spoken to friends I've known over the 30, 40 years, that the Thai government have put it out there and everyone's jumped on the bandwagon, and they're going to slowly pull the rug away from people because they realise that they've moved too fast, because, it's just everywhere. It's like a pandemic. I've never seen or heard anything like it in my life. And they've just gone, whee! And everybody's at it. So, they suddenly announced that you could grow 15 plants. And then I think they dropped it down to less plants. And then they weren't sure. And then you produce edibles. And, oh, no, we don't want you doing that. So there's a lot of, and if you break the law in Thailand, the last thing you want to do is end up in a Thai prison.
Yeah.
Because, if you go to prison over here, it's probably a lot easier than going to a Thai prison there.
Yeah.
So things will change. I think the UK will be the last, but it will happen eventually. It'll have to. They want money. It's all about money. As long as they will be looking at Canada and America and Germany and how they're going to police and how they're going to tax and make money. And that's ultimately what it's all about. The world is all about money. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's what it is. Yeah. Someone was telling me the other day, 10% of all the world's money is actually in money. The other 90% is on the computer.
Mm-hmm. I can well believe
moving around the country in
moving
ones
around
and zeros.
Countries. Which is a little bit of advice, buy XRP now.
We like that,
because it's going to take over Swift.
Where are you buying that from now, though? Because we tried to buy it. Where was it from?
You can buy it from crypto.com. They've got it. But move it all out. Get it all out there. Put it on a Ledger hard drive. And then once you bought it, leave it there. Put it somewhere safe.
Which have you got?
I'm not telling you.
Jason, we're going to have to get you back, mate.
Yeah, no worries.
Because I feel like we only dipped in and out of some subjects as well. So, but you've got you over the course of the year, got you up another 3 or 4 times, depending on your availability in your calendar. Yeah. And we'll dip in and out of loads more subjects because you're one of the most interesting people to talk about. Even outside of all the products and amazing things.
Yeah, we'll be launching those in the new year. We've got a new Dave starting, who I can't say who it is, in January. Might turn a few heads. So we've got a new Dave starting in the new year.
New Dave.
He'll be in charge of the UK guys, in charge of the garden centre market. The building up relationships with stores. A lot of people know him already, and
who's bolstering. Now?
Can't tell you.
He's not slick.
No, we won't. The people. I think word will start.
Do we know him?
Yeah. I think everybody knows him.
You shouldn't say that.
So,
tune in next week.
So we've waited. Dave left sadly in the end of April, and bit of a shock. But no, I'm happy for him. We still got on great, and so it's taken a little while to try and find the right person to fill Dave's shoes, because he was a great asset to the company, and I think we found someone who can go to the garden centres, mail order companies, hydroponic stores, and just have a good relationship with everybody. So, yeah.
Nice.
Looking forward.
We'll let you know in January when we find out.
Well, you'll probably find out before, because he's coming for the Christmas party, I think, on the 9th of December. So I can imagine when Jono and Doz are seeing, they won't be able to keep themselves quiet. So you'll probably find out on the 10th.
We'll let you all know first. Jason, as always, it's been my pleasure. And we'll see you again very soon.
Yeah, no worries. All right, cheers,
guys. Thanks very much for listening. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.